people always typically go to a realtor before they go to a lender, which should really honestly be the opposite. It's kind of like when you're going shopping and you don't really know what your budget is and you're just kind of quote unquote window shopping, right? It's
Yep.
fun. Everybody likes to see that. The houses are beautiful and everything. And it's easy to dream when you can visibly see what you're dreaming about. When you're talking about pulling out the wallet and looking at your situation, most people don't even like paperwork, let alone paperwork that's very intrusive. Totally, completely understandable. It's your personal financial garment underneath, and it can be a little bit scary. It doesn't always have to be, work with people who make you feel that comfortableness so that you know you're being very well taken care of. Most of the time, your credit score is based on mainly how long you've had credit, how much credit you have, and how well you use that credit. So think of it like a video game almost, okay? If you're in the 740s and above, you really don't have to play this game anymore. But if you're below that, the trick is really to understand how you manage that debt, because when you understand that, you understand how the credit bureaus will look at your credit history. So the longer you have that credit card is definitely going to help you, okay? The variances of the credit that you have, a mortgage, a car, and a credit card. Now, I say that lightly because cars can get people into trouble too, because the debt to income ratio, which we'll talk about later, takes into effect when you're getting those types of debt. So when you're using your credit cards, the secret sauce is to keep it under the 30% mark, okay? And you want to have some debt so that the credit bureaus can see how well you use that debt. If you don't have any, it's not a bad thing, but they can't really score you as well because you have no debt. They can't score you on how well you manage your debt if you don't have any.
Once a person has their credit in line, what type of programs are there that they could consider utilizing? I know there's FHA, there's conventional, there's VA, down payment assistance.
Government loans are the most lenient ones. USDA, VA, and FHAs are a lot more lenient when it comes to credit. For FHA, you can go all the way down to 500, but you got to put at least 10% down in order to do that. 580 would allow you to do 3.5%. The interest rate is going to be a little bit higher, but we're talking about like 3.375, which the average FHA rate right now is at 2.5. So it's 1 point more, which is not terrible. Absolutely not terrible. Okay. Don't shoot yourself in the foot thinking that because, oh, maybe my credit's not that great. Maybe your credit's not that great, but maybe it doesn't need that much work. And we can absolutely help guide you through that as well. I just actually finished a phone call right before this show with somebody that didn't think they had that great of a credit. But once I looked at their situation, I was able to show him the estimate of what his score would be in 2 months. He would be able to increase it about 80 to 120 points. I just took a look at his collections. I took a look at what he needs to pay off and everything like that. And he only had 4 things.
If he removes those 4 things from you said the collections?
Yeah, 3 collections, 3 recent collections. They're very minimal. They total up to not even $1,700. And then there was a credit card that he just needed to lower the balance. That's it. So all of that total was less than $2,000 to give him about 80 to 120 points.
Do you know how long it normally takes for a person's credit score to be updated?
So it really depends on the creditor, okay? So let's just say, for instance, you owe a credit card from credit card company A. And typically, it's about a 35 to 45 window that they'll update that. We can do what's called a rapid rescore and submit it to the credit bureau and say, hey, this is proof that they've already made this payment. This is showing zero balance. Here you go. And we can help fix that. Okay, there is a cost to that, but it's very minimal.
So you know how some people that get themselves into debt when it goes into collection sends a letter out from a attorney saying that, hey, they got to pay this amount, or they could settle. When they settle, let's say the person owes 20,000 and they settle for 10. Yeah. If they pay and if they settle for 10, is that gonna knock off that collection of a $20,000 balance that was in collection, or is it only gonna reduce the balance by 10,000?
It really depends on how you negotiate that. And before you pay anything at all, make sure you have it in writing. I've had situations where clients come to me and was like, yeah, they told me I only had to pay $1,000 and they will call it a day. So here's what it is. If you look up the statute of limitation for debts in California, it's 4 years right now, okay? Which means
What does that mean?
after 4 years, legally, they can't sue you for that. If they haven't if you haven't paid in 4 years, legally, they can't go after you for that, okay? Look that up. It's a very sticky situation, but they don't want to tell you. They don't want to promote that. Sometimes they already know that, hey, this debt probably won't be able to be settled, so they'll go to the attorneys that will handle these types of cases. The way that they do this to the attorney is like, look, dude, if you can get me at least $10,000, I'm happy. So the attorney is like, well, in order for me to make more money, I'm just going to tell this guy it's $12,000, right? But let's just say he's looking at us like, it's going to be really hard for me to extract this from this person. So that attorney that works for that collection agency could also say, hey, well, you know what? Why don't you just give me $1,000 and we'll call it a day? You know, we'll wash out your debt. Well, guess what just happened? If it's not in writing, okay, they can go back and say, well, that conversation may not have ever happened. How do you prove that? How do you prove that? And once you make that payment, even if it's $1, that 4-year statute of limitation starts all over again.
You just reminded me of a story. I spoke with a client. He's been trying to get qualified for a while, and we spoke the other day, and this is what he told me. I kid you not. Chia, somebody called me this and asked for my bank account number, and I gave it to him, and he was trying to take $3,000 out to pay my collection, and I gave it to him because I was trying to settle my debt, and I was like, why'd you do that? Why'd you give your account number to them? Because that's a debt collector. What if instead of taking $3,000 that they were saying they're gonna settle, what if they take the whole $10,000? And he's like, oh, it's okay. They couldn't get in because my online banking has security to block that. Should I let them? Next time, I'm like, no, don't do that. Wait for them to send you a letter and then pay through the letter.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the thing, I want to let your audience know that a lot of times when these companies, they could be overseas companies, these collection agencies may not be in the States.
Yeah.
So they don't operate on our rules because there's no jurisdiction really made for them. I mean, I'm sure that there's some sort of like stuff that they have to do, but we don't know what that is and it's out of our territory. So I would be very, very wary to just pay anybody over the phone.